All right, 11:31, 11:32. You're getting near the end of this level of pieces. And one more level, perhaps. Level 4 is mainly English literature, and then you'll end with writing a paper and doing a speech. But this particular course ends with a pretty major assignment, and that is writing a term paper. This is the most thorough preparation that you're going to get for writing a college level paper. And if you're going to go to college, you're going to do a lot of writing of papers. And, a lot of them are 5-page papers, 6, 8, 10, even more, sometimes even up to 20-page research papers. So these two pieces are going to go through all the steps that are involved, okay? And walk you through from choosing the topic all the way to having your final draft done with bibliography and fill it in with the finding the sources and the outline and the note cards and all of that. So just be aware, these two pieces are going to involve a lot of outside work, and you can't wait until you get up right before the self-test in each one to quick cram and try to get it done. These are time-consuming projects, and you need to manage this project, okay? This is one of the benefits of the whole ACE program, is that you learn to set goals and learn to manage your time and take big projects and break them down. So in this particular course, they have broken down this big project into some chunks, but when you get toward the end of each one, you're going to have to do a fairly thorough project, like writing your outline and having note cards, and in the last page actually writing your rough draft and then your final draft. And so you're going to need to set aside a few days on your goal card just for the writing process. With that in mind, then, you may have to do more than your normal day's goals of pages when you are working through the other pages, because you want to get this done before the end of the year and not have to come in and do Saturday work or summer school in order to get this assignment done. So let's start here in page 1131, and at the very beginning it's talking about choosing a topic. And think through this area carefully as you're reading the examples. And maybe the examples they give are not ones that you would want to write about, but they should help you narrow your topic to something that you are interested in and that you can enjoy reading about, researching, and then writing a paper on. So let's just kind of skim through here before you start, and notice on page 8 it says stop now and complete your general reading. So when you get to that point, you should have already chosen, I would say about 8 or 10 books, magazines, sources that you're going to read related to your topic. And then start reading through those and thinking about, and maybe even as you read it, you start changing your topic a little bit and realizing there's more information, or I'm learning some things I didn't know before about some other aspect of this, and that's what I want to focus on for this paper. So you get to page 9, and it says to do the source cards for your final bibliography, and they have room here for 8. And depends on your supervisor how many. I encourage students to have 8 or 10 good sources, and if they have them on note cards already, I don't require my students to copy them on here, but they have to be neat and they have to show them to me, and then I'll sign off on this page. But it's up to whatever your supervisor wants. Now let's see, we get to talking about outlining. Again, bottom page 11, general reading must be finished by now. So if you have still some reading you're doing, get that wrapped up so that you're ready to move on, because now we're going to start doing outlining. And then, so here on page 17, so again, we're just kind of flipping through here and trying to see what's going to be covered in this piece. So on page 17, it says identify the main points for the topic that you've chosen to write about, and then find any additional subpoints and kind of group them. And then on lines below, write a thesis statement to reveal the intent of your research paper. I'm going to flip past we get here to page 18. Write a rough draft of your preliminary outline on separate paper. If you type it, then you can add to it easily and adjust things. It'll include the title, the thesis statement, and then the outline. So all those points from the previous page you'll include here. And then the supervisor needs to check that you're in good shape to this point. Once you have this, you've already done the reading, you've got your sources, you kind of know where you're headed with this, you have your main points. You still might make changes to this, okay? This is a work in progress, and you might tweak it as you go, but this will really help if you have this foundation on which to build. So you have the main outline. The next several sections are just talking more about how to do note cards. And then you're going to do some of your own note cards where you're actually copying information from some of those sources and say, wow, that was a really good quote. Or wow, here's some information I didn't know before and I need to include this in my paper. And so you can write it in there. I allow my students, and I encourage them, to take the source that they're using and type it into a document, all right, and then put reference material there of where they got it from. And that way, and then they can save that in a separate computer document. And then when they are ready to write their paper, they can just cut and paste right into their paper. So you may or may not necessarily have information to put on here. Okay, they're recommending 4x6 cards. In college, I used 3x5 cards, and then through grad school, I used just the computer and kept all my notes in a file that I could cut and paste from. All right, so let's move on now and get a bird's eye view of PACE 1132, because this wraps up then the research paper that you're going to write. So here on page 4, it's the rough draft, your final outline, and then here a rough draft with endnotes. Rather than doing footnotes on every page, endnotes are a lot easier to do. They explain how to do that. They show an example of what it should look like with the name up here at the top and the page number, and then the superscripts numbers lead to the end notes, okay? So they talk about the end notes here on page 10 and what that page should look like, and page 9 as well. Write the first 2 pages of your rough draft. I give you 2 blank sheets of paper. I just do it on the computer, okay? And I'm not sure what you do with this paper. You can maybe draw pictures on there to illustrate. No, I'm kidding. Then we get to page 14, and your rough draft is ready to be evaluated. Page 16 at the top. Stop now and complete the final copy of the text of your research paper. By the time we flip through this, we're, let's see, okay, so we're talking about rules for commas and colons and semicolons, so they give you some more just grammar review. But let's see, where was it that the final draft had to be done? I guess here on page 17, by the time you get to the bottom of page 17, you should have your final draft completely done and ready for your supervisor to score. And then they just go through a little grammar review, and then you're done with the PACE, done with the total rating assignment until next year. So a lot of the work is going to be done here in PACE 1131, rough draft, final draft, at a couple points here at the beginning of 1132, and then that should be completed before your self-test on 1132.